Table in this chamber is Councillor Jim Park, Councillor Wes Gold, our Deputy Mayor, Councillor Felicity Sinfield, and on the opposite side, Councillor Victor Franco, Councillor Gary Thompson, Councillor Di Gillies, and Councillor Jane Addis, our Mayor. Good evening. Officers in attendance tonight are directly beside me on my right, Chief Executive Officer Philip Storer, the Director of Places and Spaces, Daniel Freer, sitting behind Councillor Gold. Beside Mr Freer is Carolyn McLean, Director of Community Support, and behind Councillor Gillies is Mans Bassi, Director of Customer Transformation, and Amy Montalgi, Chief Financial Officer. Directly to my left is Kirsten Ritchie, Coordinator of Governance, and beside Kirsten is Liam Merrifield, Senior Governance Officer. There are also a number of officers in attendance this evening, and they will be introduced when they present the report. The purpose of the Services Delegated Committee is to deal with issues relating to the provision of human and physical services and council infrastructure. For those in the gallery this evening, when we come to the agenda item, it will be introduced by the officers. I will then call you one by one who has indicated their interest to present this evening, and you will be asked to sit at the head of the horseshoe table. When making your submission, you are requested to present your viewpoint clearly and concisely on whether you agree or disagree with the proposal, and you may present an alternative approach which may satisfy your concerns. Please do not repeat what earlier speakers have said, and please keep the discussion focused on the relevant issues. There is a limit of 3 minutes for each speaker, and that includes councillors. As chairperson, I reserve the right to vary that. I will ask speakers to sit at the horseshoe table as mentioned earlier, and at the 2.5 minute mark, I will ring a bell to indicate that your 3 minutes is nearly up. You then have that remaining 30 seconds to conclude your presentation. After you have spoken, please remain at the table while I ask if any councillors have a question for you. Yeah, we'll commence with the meeting. Apologies. Ms Ritchie, are there any apologies this evening?
Through you, Chair, there are 3 apologies for tonight's meeting. Councillor Biggar, Councillor Watson and Councillor Stavrou.
Thank you. Item 1, adoption and confirmation of the minutes. Councillors, I seek a motion to adopt the minutes. Councillor Thompson?
Happy to move the minutes.
Thank you. And seconded by Councillor Gillies? Thank you. Is there anyone in opposition to the minutes? No? Then I declare that carried unanimously. Thank you. Just for compliance reasons, can I please ask you all show a sign of hands? Thank you. That is unanimous. Declaration of conflict of interest. Any councillor with a conflict? I see no lights on. No conflicts declared. Thank you. Item 3, presentation of officer report. The one agenda item we have this evening is outdoor trading policy and guidelines, and this will be presented by Paul Mitchell-Moore, Manager of Civic Services, and Nick Lund, Manager of Strategy and Performance. Good evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Through you, Chair. Good evening, councillors and visitors. It is a pleasure to present to the Services Delegated Committee the completed works for the new outdoor trading policy, comprising revised footpath trading guidelines, new parklet guidelines, and new outdoor dining structure guidelines. This policy sets out a framework and the guiding principles for the activation and management of commercial trading opportunities on footpaths and roadways in the City of Boroondara. The guidelines, underpinned by the policy, have been developed to provide clear, contemporary and accessible guidance to support traders, in activating available outdoor trading opportunities. They aim to balance the expectations of traders to be able to activate with ease with that of the wider community by maintaining user access, protection of council assets, accessibility, neighbourhood character, heritage and amenity. This includes being able to apply with ease through Council's website by offering a straightforward application process. This approach aligns with neighbouring councils, thereby providing a benefit to traders for an ease of transition from one municipality to another, to incentivise traders to undertake outdoor trading options further, and for the benefit of the local economy, the fee structure is in line with that charged in other municipalities and in some cases less than other councils. A period of consultation with the community on the draft policy and guidelines ran from the 23rd of August to the 20th of September 2022. Key stakeholders were engaged, including traders, trader associations, current outdoor trading permit holders and the community. Overwhelmingly, the feedback was positive. Of the 161 respondents to an Engage Boroondara survey, nearly 3/4 of respondents answered yes to the following question: do you think the Council is suitably supporting the activation of public footpaths and parking bays for the benefit of businesses and the local community? None of the initial feedback from the consultations led to any proposed changes to the outdoor trading policy or the specific activity guidelines. It is noted that late feedback was received as of last week concerning opportunities for bicycle parking spaces, which has now been incorporated as an amendment to the existing guidelines and tonight's officer recommendation. For next steps, the Services Delegated Committee is to adopt the outdoor trading policy and associated guidelines, and they are placed on Council's website and communicated to all key stakeholders. The officer recommendation, therefore, is that the Services Delegated Committee resolve to adopt the outdoor trading policy, footpath trading guidelines, parklet guidelines and outdoor dining structures. Number 2, place the outdoor trading policy and associated guidelines on Council's website, along with appropriate application forms and explanatory information. Finally, I would like to advise that an amendment to the officer recommendation after receipt of late community feedback regarding inclusion of a provision to assess opportunities for bicycle parking spaces. Thank you very much, and we welcome forthcoming questions.
Thank you, Mr Mitchell. Councillors, we have several speakers here this evening that are wishing to come and present. So I will call the first speaker, and it's Ms Kerry Daly, representing the Camberwell Centre Traders Association. Good evening and welcome. And
Good evening.
look, if need be, please feel free to push the microphone closer to you if you feel that your voice isn't carried clearly. Can I ask with your name, please?
So my name's Kerry Daly. I manage the Camberwell Traders Association and have done for many years.
Okay, and please proceed with your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Look, essentially I'm just here to represent the 720 odd businesses that are in the Camberwell Junction and essentially on behalf of the Traders Association support the document you're presenting tonight. I've had a good look through it and I think it's very thorough. We've been lobbying for this type of support for a long time and we think it's commendable that Boroondara Council are now considering the idea of sensible rules around footpath trading, and we're very, very supportive of the idea of parklets. So much so that we're really hoping that a number of our sites that are appropriate might be, really long-term positions. And given that certainty, we're convinced that our traders will put the necessary funding into making them attractive as possible and to make sure they're managed correctly. There's an enormous amount of enthusiasm from our traders and certainly from the community. We've had excellent feedback. We did a few sort of surveys and generally spoke to people that were attending particularly over COVID, and it was all very, very positive. We haven't personally had any objections through the Traders Association.
Thank you for your presentation. Councillors, is there any questions? I don't see any lights on. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
May
Thank you for your
return.
time.
Next I will call Ms Glenys Jones. And good evening. If you could please just start with your name and suburb, please, and whether or not you do support the officer recommendation.
Glynis Jones, Glenaris. I'm a little bit confused as to where to go with this at the moment, knowing that there's an amendment which has stemmed from my submission. So I'll just go ahead. I've got an overhead, if you could please put it up. Firstly, I'd like to thank the officers for their work on this rapidly expanding area. It's very progressive and I'm really pleased to see it happening. I'm a huge fan of street and parklet dining. It adds colour and life to our city. Last week I rode the Murray to Mountains rail trail and enjoyed the offerings of no less than 10 cafes to fuel my ride. I subsequently figured that's one every 25 kilometres. Cycling has brought dollars to the regions, and the traders are realising that every dollar not spent on car travel is available to support their small businesses. It's not surprising that we were able to find cafes providing somewhere safe and secure for our bikes while we enjoyed the fair. In my submission to Council, I suggested that where street parking or bike parking rails are removed for parklets or street dining, traders should be actively encouraged to incorporate bike parking within their design to offset the loss of car and bicycle parking to enable sustainable transport within Boroondara. The response I got at the time was that it would be considered by an interdepartmental panel. However, I was very concerned that it really needs to be incorporated somehow in this document to advise the traders that this is an opportunity. The guidelines suggest that bike parking requires 3 metres of street frontage. However, if you look at the images up ahead, overhead, these are examples of multiple rails that are space efficiently incorporated within a design. The impact on bicycle and mobility parking should be considered, and that opportunity exists to provide some balance in the use of the streetscape. The 3 metre street frontage requirement for bike parking rails is now resulting in bike parking rails being installed hidden away in side streets. Even if the riders are aware of their existence, very few would consider parking their bikes there. I certainly wouldn't. Signposts and tree guards remain the preferred bike and dog parking locations, and the tree guards are currently not available because they're encased in Christmas promotional core flutes. So
Good evening. If you could please just start with your name, suburb, and do you support or do you oppose the officer recommendation?
I'm Thomas Mornerant and owner of Bin 3 Cafe and Cellars in Baldwin, and I fully support this.
Thank you. Please proceed.
Good evening, Mayor Addis and councillors. Firstly, I'd like to thank City of Boroondara, who have gone above and beyond to help small business like ours get through these past trying years of lockdowns and restrictions. They have been amazing. Bin 3 is a coffee shop during the day and a wine bar of an evening. We are located on Belmore Road, opposite the Coles supermarket near the big roundabout. We have grown our family-owned and run business from humble beginnings to the success it is today over the past 15 years. COVID was an incredibly difficult time for the hospitality sector, and we were very fortunate to be granted a permit for outdoor dining parklet as part of the Outdoor Dining Initiative rolled out across Victoria. We spent $12,000 fitting out our parklet, which we have named the Birdcage. Our parklet looks $1 million, decked out with picket fencing, synthetic grass, umbrellas, tables, chairs, wine barrels and plants. We're very proud of how it looks and the positive impact it's had on the street landscape. Our locals rave about it. Driving past of an evening and seeing the Birdcage full of happy people brings such a great vibe to the strip. At Bin 3, we have all the menus from the 11 surrounding restaurants laminated and available at the shop. We encourage all our customers to order in their takeaway dinner and have it with us while enjoying a beer, wine or non-alcoholic drink. We provide bamboo plates, knives and forks. This concept has proven to be very popular with our customers. Guidelines. Lucy, businesses like these are the heart of our community, not only supporting their workers, but the other businesses around them. Being able to continue to dine and enjoy coffee outdoor is something I think we can all appreciate. Cam, outdoor dining and vibrancy is what Belmore Road shopping strip needed. Bin 3 have changed the face of the strip with constant community joining together outside for a drink, coffee or meal from neighbouring businesses.
And if you could please summarise. Thank you.
The Birdcage is much more than just a parklet. It's provided a safe space where locals can meet and connect, and our community are really hoping that we can continue with the program into the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I can see Councillor Sinfield's lights on.
Thank you, Chair. Just wondering if you might be able to help me better understand how this policy document and the fee structure would be adopted by you, or does it accommodate you sharing that facility with the other hospitality venues? What I'm trying to say is, if you pay the fee,
Yes.
but you provide the amenity for all of your neighbouring hospitality businesses,
Yes.
is there something in this policy that allows you to then share that amongst you, or do you have to wear that burden?
I will wear it, and we're happy to wear it.
That's lovely of you.
Well, that's what
but
it's
I
all
wonder
about.
whether in fact maybe we might take that on notice as to whether there's some way of sharing this more broadly. I'd not thought about that until you just told your story. So thank you for giving us a different perspective on that.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Sinfield. And I see there are no other lights on.
Week to week, month to month. The degree to which they place reliance upon it can vary as well. I tend to think it's something that is really best worked out between the traders themselves. And if the gentleman who just spoke wanted the contribution, the other traders and he could sit down and talk a bit about that on the basis of the benefit derived, I suspect that might be a more fluid and probably a better way of dealing with it.
Thank you, Mr. Storer. I wonder whether officers might just, consider how that might work offline. This shopping strip doesn't have the benefit of a trader association to advocate for them or to manage any of that, so it might be worth considering, and the ward councillors not present tonight for that conversation. A second question, if I may.
Yes.
In relation to the City of Boroondara Economic Development and Tourism Plan 16 to 21 that has sunsetted, I'm wondering if officers are aware as to where that new tourism strategy might be at, or will this entirely take the place of that strategy document?
Through you, Madam Chair.
Mr Lund, yes, thank you.
A new strategy will be presented to Council before the end of this year for consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Councillor Thompson.
Thanks, Madam Chair. One of the points raised with Ms Jones's presentation, and I'll just question to the officers, besides there is a slight spelling mistake in A, and mobility scooters, or mobility devices, maybe.
Through you, Chair. Yes, thank you for the additional question. We're happy to go back and look at that wording so that it's more inclusive of other potential vehicles. So we can look at an amendment for that.
On that basis, Madam Chair, I'm happy to move a motion with that included.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. And Councillor Franco.
Thank you. Question following on from Councillor Thompson's. I'd just like to be sure the words that are proposed, the additional criteria, is that something that will be added to the policy subsequent? Okay. And in addition to that, if you can look at the report, page 134, I'm not sure. Is that one you can bring up? Point 23, resident email submission. If you find that page, then I can ask my question because it'll relate to that. Or, I'm not sure what other... Yeah? So, item 20, that is not intended to be...
New criteria in the guidelines that covers it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Franco. Councillor Park.
Thank you, Chair. On page 15 of the document, or page 61 in the papers, so clause 11.3, temporary screens. There's a picture of a with figure 10, which is described as an example of advertising on screens. Can I inquire what purpose that's intended to serve?
Through you, Chair. Thank you, Councillor Park. The image is intended to serve as an example of a particular type or style of screen that could be considered upon a request for an outdoor setup. It's also conveying the setback of 0.5 metres from the roadway.
So it's not intended to be illustrative of the dot point immediately above?
In the absence of an approval for an outdoor eating environment, if you like, and purely for the purposes of advertising. It's actually there to delineate, if you like, the boundary closest to the curb for an outdoor dining setting. But at the same time, as I understand it, it's acknowledging that in those circumstances, advertising like you see in this particular image is going to be acceptable. Whereas if there were no outdoor dining arrangement approval in place there and a barrier were put up, it would be purely an advertising sign. I think that's the distinction that's being drawn.
Thank you, Mr Storer.
Yeah.
And, sorry, excuse me, Councillor Park, I've just been advised that live streaming has ceased. So can I have someone please put forward an adjournment until live stream is resumed? Councillor Thompson, thank you. Seconder?
Yep.
Councillor Sinfield, thank you. Councillor Thompson. Oh, sorry. Yes, I seek support, councillors. Councillors, I'm in seek of a motion to resume. Councillor Sinfield.
So moved.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Thompson. Can I please see a show of hands? Thank you. That motion is supported. No, Councillor Park, I believe you had a question.
It's been asked and answered.
And addressed.
Thank you.
Thank you. And sorry, I just wasn't sure if the answer was complete. It was. Thank you very much. Councillors, any other questions? No? Councillor Addis, yes.
I'm assuming that mobility devices would cover scooters and prams and whatever. It's a broad enough catch-all, isn't it? Yep, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Thompson, you foreshadowed a motion.
Happy to move the officer's recommendation as it is on the screen, acknowledging the changes that have been made since it was put up originally.
Thank you. And I'm in search of a seconder. Councillor Gillies.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Is there anyone opposed to the motion? No one in opposition? Councillor Thompson, would you like to speak to your motion?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I recognise the councillor for sitting adjacent to me might like to speak to this a little bit more than myself, but this is probably one of the things that have come out of COVID that is actually quite positive for our community with regards to the introduction of parklets. We've seen how they thoroughly activate our community precincts, engage and support our local traders and our hospitality venues. And I think the enhancements that have been discussed today that support active transport systems to be able to, again, enhance that is fantastic. I think that's also reflected in the resounding support that we've received from the officers' responses, or from the responses from the community, 3/4 in full support. So I wholeheartedly support this motion and recommend all councillors do as well. Thanks, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr Thompson. Councillor Franco, did you want to say anything? No words? Right. Councillors, can I please see a show of hands in support of Councillor Thompson's motion? All in favour? Supported unanimously. Thank you very much. And thank you, officers, for your presentation and efforts in putting forward the policy and recommendations. General business. Any items of general business? Urgent business? No. And no confidential business? Thank you, councillors. So, at 7:14, I declare this meeting closed, and I want to thank everyone in the gallery for your attendance, officers for their presentations, and councillors for your contribution. Good evening, everyone. Thank you.